In this brief recording, we're going to cover how to connect the Flosum GIT managed package to connect your Flosum Org with an Azure DevOps Repo on your backend. So in order to do this, there are a couple prerequisites before we start configuring the Flosum GIT managed package. The first thing is you need to have the Flosum agent installed. If you're unfamiliar with how to do this, please reach out to your customer success manager and they can help you understand how to set that up. The second thing that we need to have before we start our configuration here is within this org in our remote site settings, we need to create one with the URL of where that Flosum agent resides. Once we have those two things in place, we can now begin configuring the Flosum GIT managed package to connect to the Flosum agent and synchronize our Flosum repos and branches with our Azure DevOps backend. So let's see how to do that. With the same URL that you put in the remote site settings, you'll put it here for your Cloud App URL, and then you'll select which Azure or which Git backend you're connecting to. In this case, we're using Dev Azure, and we want to enable bidirectional sync. This will allow any changes made in Flosum to be pushed to your ADO backend, and any changes made in the ADO backend to be pulled into Flosum. So once we have our settings in place, we'll click Enable Synchronization, and this screen will load and show us any repos that we have and any branches tied to that repo that will be synchronizing to the ADO backend. I'll go ahead and click Start Sync, and now we'll start the synchronization process. Depending on how big your repos are and how many branches you have, this could take a little longer or a little shorter. But if you want to monitor the status, you can simply click on Check Sync Status and see what the status is currently of all your branches and repos that are being synced. So right now, we can see that my default repo is in progress and all the branches are waiting. If I refresh, our repo is now finished and we started syncing some of our branches. So I'm going to jump over to my ADO repo real quick to show you how that process looks on the Azure DevOps side. Within my Azure DevOps environment, I'll go into my repositories and I'll look at my branches. And now, within my branches, I can see that we've started bringing our master across, which is our repository, as well as all the branches that we have within Flosum. So as I mentioned, depending on how many branches you have, this may take a little longer, but now the process has started and this will continuously keep Flosum and your ADO backend in sync.